So today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're not going to be going through each state and giving a vague prediction and saying, well, it'll be between 5 and 10, between 6 and 8. We're going to be giving a specific number. So we're going to go through each state here. We're going to apply our last video's logic to each state by filling it in with the categorization that we gave it last time around, and we know Democrats are going to dominate New England and up here and New York. So we're going to be changing to the edit mode, and we're going to be changing the number on each state according to the margin of victory that we're going to be predicting. So we fill in the Republican states here. That is all 50 states plus DC filled, and we have it at 291 to 247. That's what we had it as last time. If you want to know more about that, go check out the other video. So, editing time. And we're going to be going through the results of the last election. We're going to be going through the polling in each state, and we're going to start in Washington. So, the margin in Washington is 21 points, says the last poll. We have a Democrat aligned poll that has it at 14. Biden was running at roughly 14. There was a 7 here, but this is, post-debate kind of time. Even slightly before the debate, Biden was probably going to get dropped out anyway. But we're at 14, 21, and then we look at the results last time. What was it? 20 or 19.2. So you probably say the supercharged black turnout or the supercharged progressive liberal turnout. You probably say it may retract to 17 or so. I think I'd go 17 for Washington there, as we have to confirm. There we go. So, that's our first state filled in. Again, ignore the numbers at the top here because they don't matter, because we're going to be changing them. So, Oregon is next. Basically the same as Washington. We had this 5-point poll, but it's probably between 10 and 13. So, we look at the last election, it was 16%. This time around, again, shifting to the right, the growing or the expansion of the East Oregon secession movement. So I think Oregon will shift right as well, and I think, maybe we'll see 11 points. Maybe it'll be just outside the likely or safe margin, but I think it will underrun Washington as usual, but it won't be anywhere near in play for Republicans. So we have California up next, another deep blue state, and these states are probably actually going to take longer to analyze because we know the other states, we know the swing states, we know we've been focusing on them, we know the rough margin that we're thinking. So these states might take a little bit longer, and they may be a bit more wrong because obviously it's a wider margin to predict. So, and you can't really predict the turnout because people aren't seeking the turnout there. There's no campaign ads, there's nothing, so it's kind of just letting the world function and seeing how many people turn out. Again, California last time supercharged turnout for the Democrats. It was a big old win, of course. 29 points in California was the victory, the margin of victory down there. So this time around, again, it's running under in the polls, which makes sense. You've got the candidate from California. Maybe you got some Bernie bros down there in California that didn't vote for Biden, but if you had the BLM and the coronavirus stuff between the primaries and the actual election. So I doubt many of those people were left by the time the election actually came around. So you're probably saying again it's going to go under 29. Of course, I don't think there's many states that are going to move left, to be honest. But California, it was 29 last time. We look at the polling. Again, maybe in California as well, it's a little less socially acceptable. We talk about this factor all the time, about how Wisconsin voters, for example, in polling, they don't say they're voting for Trump because it's less socially acceptable. and then you go to the polls, you write the name on the ballot, you don't tell anyone, and Trump ends up overrunning the polls every single time. So California probably the same. I mean, with every deep blue state, it will kind of be like that. So I don't want to say under 20, but I'd probably say about 22. I think that's, well, the polling was not that far off that. I mean, the last poll was 22, but I'd probably say a 7-point shift to the left would make sense given the unusual circumstances of the last election and comparing it to this one. So we have Nevada, which we can fill out straight away because we've talked about it so much. And I don't know if it would let me do, it doesn't let me do decibels. So we're going to be giving a whole number, and I think I said 1.3 maybe in the last video if I did give a specific number. So I'd probably say 1. I mean, it might be 1.5, then you round it up to 2. I'd probably say it's 1 at the moment. We have Alaska. This will be the first Republican state. We've talked about this one a little bit and how I think it could go under 10 this time. I think it's probably going to be 9 point something over 9.5 and under 10. So if you round it up, it's going to be 10. Just like last time, it was exactly 10. Maybe I could see it going to a 9.2 we see last time. It was exactly 10 points. Maybe it could, I mean, there's no real third party to vote for. We'll call it 9. We'll go bold on that one. We'll give Alaska 9. Idaho, we can go to next. Or actually, we'll go to Hawaii next. Hawaii's going to be a massive win for the Democrats. Not as big as usual, because we talk about these Hawaiian fires, and that's the big story. We don't have a lot of polls, of course, because it's just such a deep blue state. So we'll go to last time. It was, again, 29 points. So this time around, you consider it's probably going to run somewhat in line with California. Maybe it will naturally shift to the right a little less because you don't have such a big black population there, but certainly the progressives were getting out there. And then you consider the fires over there and the reaction to it, that would have turned off a lot of Hawaiian voters. I think any poll you're going to get out of Hawaii, because a liberal pollster's not going to poll Hawaii, there's just no point. So any poll you do get out of Hawaii is going to be a right-leaning poll. We see a +8, which there's so many undecided, it's a joke. But 19 points is probably just slightly to the right. I'd probably say it's about, I'd say it underruns California just, but I'd probably say it's about 21 points there. So next we have Idaho. So Idaho, again, another deep red state, 29 points in the only poll we have. It was 30 points last time. I really don't see any reason why it would shift any further from that. There's not a big black population over there, so really no reason for it to shift. I mean, I maybe just keep it at 30, to be honest. I don't really see any factors. Maybe the cost of living you could consider, but okay, let's say 2 more points then for Idaho. So now we go to Utah. Utah, always an interesting state with the religious connotations there. Harris is drowning in Utah. Joe Biden had his Catholic image to kind of go off and appeal to the Christians in Utah. Of course, Mormons down there as well, but a lot of Christians in Utah. 21 points last time, and not even over 90% of the vote between them. Or actually, yeah, it's 95, never mind. So again, third parties, you're not going to see Evan McMullin 2016 or a Gary Johnson 2016. You're not going to see anything like that this time around. You probably gonna say it's gonna be worse for Democrats than it was in 2020, and it was 21 points then. I think Harris probably won't even get over 30%, to be honest. I mean, Joe Biden was even struggling to do that himself. So I probably, again, 29 or 20, 21 points last time. So this time around, probably going to see a bigger shift than usual in the deep red states. I'd probably say maybe 28. I mean, of course, you've got the like Mitt Romney rhino factor over there, and um, the more liberal Republicans over there in Utah, and they love Mitt Romney, so maybe it could move left. Actually, I think 28 is probably a bit harsh. Maybe 25. I don't think Trump's all too popular there at the moment. He always struggles in the primaries. So maybe he will struggle with turnout and it will make the blow a little less bad for Harris. Arizona, we talk about this at length. It's going to be 2 points. And we could actually fill in all the swing states. Georgia, I've got as, 1.6, so 2 points. North Carolina, 1 point. Pennsylvania, 1 point. Michigan, 1 point. And Wisconsin, 2 points. Because again, Wisconsin's going to come down to whether you believe that that the polls are correct or the polls are incorrect, and I happen to believe they're quite a way off. And I'm only saying it's 2 points. There's people out there who are saying it's going to be 6 or 7 again, and it might well be. But anyway, we go to Montana again. The Senate race there is under 10, but the presidential level is different, and it's 16.5 points at the moment. In 2020 it was 15-16, yeah, 16 points. So again, is it going to move right? Yeah, probably slightly, just given the economic impact that the last 4 years has had. You'd probably say very narrowly though, probably 17 points. Wyoming's going to be a monster win for Republicans as usual. We know this. I mean, Joe Biden at 15%. That is quite something. Nearly 70% last time for Donald Trump. That is just unspeakable. No other state did give Trump over 70, so that's going to be his biggest win. Probably again this time around. I mean, what was the margin last time? 43. So this time maybe they'll just run up the numbers even more. I think there is a case of Republicans are more likely to turn out in somewhere like Wyoming than a South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, Idaho, Utah, because they're the biggest Republican state. So there's kind of that one. I think you see it in DC as well. That want to run up the numbers and make it a historic margin. So again, 43 points last time. They'll probably expand on that to 46. I mean, that's just a stab in the dark. It doesn't really matter. It's going to be anywhere between 40 and 50. But I'll go 46 this time. Colorado. We've looked at this one quite a lot. Not a lot of polls have come out from Colorado. I think we had it at 8% for a very long time. That was when we were waiting for more polls. Morning Consult, terrible pollster. Got it very wrong in 2020. 15 points for Harris. So we can assume it's under that. Then they did another one that had it only 10. So maybe Colorado's not so safe as we once thought. I have it at 10. I put it into 10 probably about a month ago now. I put it into the safe category. I had it as likely for all of August, all of July. But we'll say that it's going to run at 10. Probably, you look at the Morning Consult poll, you say it's going to be under that most likely. Maybe a 9.8, 9.7. It's going to round up to 10, so it doesn't really matter. New Mexico. I've looked into this one a lot again. I always say between 6 and 8, so I'm going to go 7. Texas, another one I think is going to be between 5 and 8. So I'd probably go 6. Or maybe 7. I think Democrats are talking it up a lot more than they should be, and therefore it's kind of messing with my head. I think it will be a big win for Republicans over there. So we have Oklahoma. Again, deep red state. There's no question it's going to go red. What's the margin going to be, and what was it last time? It was 33 last time. Again, it doesn't really matter. It's probably not going to change. Not much to do with the Native Americans being talked about at the moment. So really nothing to talk about over there. It's not going to shift one way or the other, really. Kansas, we see it was 15 last time, just under 15. This time, um, I don't see any reason why it would shift. The metros aren't really getting much bigger in the Kansas state, so I think maybe you see it move left, maybe slightly. You say it might be 14 this time, but there's no question it's going to run over 10 this time around. We can go to North Dakota, South Dakota again. These states are massive Republican wins. This poll by Emerson from 2023 had Biden at 17%. That is something else. Last time South Dakota was we see what is that, 25%. North Dakota ran, well, I was going to say the same. It's actually the last number's inverse. But again, it's going to be a huge margin, 25 points last time. Again, you don't really have any reason to change that. I don't see any major reason. I mean, they've run the state pretty well, the governors over there. So if anything, you're going to see the numbers go up again. North Dakota was 34 last time, so maybe you say it's 36 this time. South Dakota, maybe you say 27. We look at Nebraska. Obviously, this is kind of hard to input into this map, but Nebraska at large is, well, we could go by district actually. So the 3rd district is always a massive win. I don't know if it's going to let us. It's not going to let us look into it by the district. So we're just going to have to. We'll go full state. Because I could tell you the 2nd district is going to be 9 points. There we go. There's that. And at large, the state is probably going to be, I mean, last time it was 19 points. Again, no reason. I mean, you see maybe an expansion in the 2nd district, Omaha area. But aside from that, I really don't see the state changing all that much. So maybe you say it goes to 17 points rather than 19 as it was last time, or maybe even 16. To be honest, we'll go 16. We'll say that the metro expansion is going to make a bigger difference than expected. So we have Louisiana next, which again is one that we've kind of talked about at length by saying, it could, maybe next cycle it could be in play given the shifts. We saw last time around it was 19 points. It was way out of play. But then you look at the polling this time around and it's a lot closer than it was last time, or maybe it could just be that, again, Republicans are up so much they're not responding. You tend to see that. I think it will be 15 points. And I think a similar situation in Missouri as well. We look at the polling in Missouri. Trump's up by roughly 12. Last time he won the state by 15. So again, a little bit closer than Louisiana. Maybe you could see a similar sort of shift. Missouri go to about 12. Again, another one moving left, but after it rocketed to the right. But it's still really not in play just yet. Arkansas, one that's a little bit all over the place. It was 28 points last time. The polling suggests it's the last poll suggests it's a lot closer than that, but then you had this one from Emerson last October, and Joe Biden was drowning, but of course Harris is now the nominee. So maybe you do see a change. I don't see how Harris would necessarily appeal to Arkansas voters. Last time, again, we reiterate 28 points, so this time, I mean, again, there's no real reason for it to change. Maybe you say the surrounding states are moving left. That's not the best indicator, but you say maybe it'll have a slight knock-on impact. People moving between states maybe, and voting in Arkansas. So we have Iowa next. Iowa, one that's come back into talking point, as we had this pollster. This was the gold standard pollster for Iowa in 2020. They got it exactly right. It was, 8.2 points. So this time around, that well, they had it at 4, but then there was a whole situation, or rather, people looked into it and said, well, they were actually off by a big margin by the time they did this poll last time around. So uh, Iowa, we saw it go from in play against Obama to Hillary Clinton having, an outside shot at it, but really was never all too competitive. Now it's gone to 8 points. Would it go further than that? You consider, again, the black turnout's going to be down. I think Iowa, again, I had it as safe for a long time. I think it's probably running about 9.6 to 9.7 right now. So I think next time we did a prediction, I'd probably put it as safe, back into the safe column, but at the moment we're going to round it up to 10. Minnesota, Tim Walz on the ticket. He's kind of taken it a little bit further away from the Republicans than it was in July time, but that's also to do with Harris. I said last time, or in a few videos ago, I said it's probably between 5.3 and 6.4, which is very specific. I'd probably say 6 at the moment, but maybe it's a little bit closer than we think. I think it's going to be, if it's going to be anywhere that isn't 6, it's going to be closer to 0 than it is to 10. Anyway, we've gone through Wisconsin, we've gone through Michigan, we've got Illinois. Illinois is a quick one, we'll say it's 14 points. That's what all the polling has suggested, that's what we're going to go with. Indiana, another one that's moving right. Last time around it was 16 points, and again, I think it'll be 16 points. Mississippi, this is one that Democrats like to think they could have maybe got under 10 this cycle. They have not. It's probably going to get a little bit closer. Last time it was, 15 to 16 points. Now I'd probably say it's 15. Alabama's going to be a big old win for Republicans. 26 points last time. We look at the polling in Alabama. It is 20, 19, 25, so none against Harris, but a major win. And you got to consider that Harris is she's even more of a fake religious, or a fake Christian than Joe Biden was, or Joe Biden Catholic, however you want to categorize it. So that's going to turn off any sort of religious Democrats down there. That's going to be a big win for Trump over in Alabama. Florida, another one that we've said is, it's not in play, but it's under 10. Probably say it's about 8 points. Last time it was, 3.3, and that was in the worst situation for Donald Trump. He won it in 2016. It's shifted right in 2020 when most of the country went left. It's going to now go right, and some that it should have in 2020, but obviously the situation was not favourable for Donald Trump, whether that's his fault or not. It remains to be seen what the Florida voters think about that, but it looks like it's going to be a big win for Trump. So we have South Carolina, which is another one that's not quite under 10. There's a lot of these Republican states that are not quite under 10, but are probably under 15. And South Carolina is one of them. I think it's 14 points down there in South Carolina. Tennessee is a deep red state. It's 23 points last time. I think it's going to run it up even more and become one of probably the top 5 most Republican states. I think it's going to overrun a South Dakota, and I think it's going to go above 30 this time. I think it's going to rocket to the right, and we see that there. It's going to be, I'm going to say, 30 points. So we've got the New England area and a couple of these Rust Belt states, or Ohio is the last Rust Belt state. Let's go over it. Ohio last time was 8 points. This time, again, it's probably going to be similar to that, if not further to the right. It's going to run similar to Iowa. I think it's going to be about 9 points, probably about 9.3 when Iowa's 9.7. I think they're going to run very close, and I think Ohio's again in the territory where you could start putting it at 10. I did have it at 10 for a long time. I moved it back under 10. Maybe now things are trending to the right at the moment. It could go back over. So we have Kentucky, again one of the most Republican states in the country. 26 points nailed on last time. Do we have any polling from Kentucky? We do. It was from last year, and it's 28 points whereas it was 26 last time. So Kentucky is again probably going to move right. Maybe not so much as Tennessee, but it's going to move right. It's going to go to 29 points. I'd say there's Trump is doing better among college-educated voters, especially men, and therefore I think Kentucky will go to 29 points. Anyway, West Virginia. This is again one of the most Republican states. It was 39 points last time. I'm going to doubt we have any recent polling out of West Virginia. We do. We have recent polling from August that has it at 27 again. You're probably seeing a major response bias toward that. I mean, that's right after the convention. You're probably seeing a major bias towards Democrats there. I think it's going to be maybe not 39, but I think it's going to be probably close to the 35, 36 we'll go. Not West Virginia. Virginia, the original state, Virginia. We've had it under 5. It's been very controversial for some time, that one. We're going to run it at 4. We're going to stick our necks out on that one. DC, I mean, it's more a question of Trump being closer to 0 than he's going to be to Harris in DC. Last time Trump got 5%. So, I mean, is Harris that popular in DC? Who cares? Okay, Biden won it last time by 87 points. That's something else. Maybe Harris wins it. Maybe Trump gets up to 7, and Harris is, maybe under 90. Maybe she's probably. You say okay, maybe it's 90 to 8. That would be what, a 82 point margin. Okay, 82. There we go. We've worked out DC. We have the New England states remaining. Let's get right into it. So, we have, where should we start? We've got Delaware. Delaware is running under 15. There's no question. I think it's probably going to be about 14 on a really good year. I think Republicans could maybe get Delaware under 10, but especially because since Joe Biden's out of the picture. But I don't think that's going to happen in any normal situation. New Jersey, we've been outspoken on that one. I think it's going to run at 9. I think it's going to sneak under 10. I don't think people are expecting it. I think that's what's going to happen. We have Vermont, which is going to be the most liberal state, not including, of course, DC. 41 points in the last poll in the middle of August, so probably Harris's peak sort of time. It was 36 last time. Again, you get or at least she was appealing to the further left of the party, but now she's just lost. I don't really understand where she's going with her campaign, but let's say she does. Again, the Bernie Bros in Vermont, maybe they didn't turn out for Joe Biden, and they will for Kamala Harris. We have New Hampshire, which again is probably under 10, but it's probably a big win for the Democrats. Again, we see it every time. It's put into play a little bit more than it is in actuality, that is. We have Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. These are all states that are not even close. Rhode Island last time was 21, Connecticut last time was 20, and Massachusetts last time was 33. So, we did have a Massachusetts poll. Yes, we had Massachusetts polls not that long ago. 28. I mean, it's just a lot of 28s we've seen today from these deep states. But Massachusetts is probably going to be... will it move left? Probably not. Again, you're going to see a lot of states just slide. Even if they're not shifting properly, you're going to see them slightly move left just because of the super liberal situation that we had last time. Rhode Island is polling not that far away. Again, we talk about the response bias when you're, or the response bias when you're so high up in a state, leading by so much. So it's not that close, but it may go on to 20. Rhode Island, again, we talk about it may move 3 points to the right, and we say Rhode Island goes from 21, I think it was, to 17. Then we have we have Maryland down there, and we also have Connecticut. So Connecticut was 20 points last time again. I'm gonna doubt we have any polling out of Connecticut. We do. We have one poll. Wow, surprising 16. I think that's about right, to be honest. Again, 3 to 4 points moving to the right, just because of the supercharged turnout last time that we always talk about. So we have Maryland, which is going to be a big win for the Democrats, and the Senate race. Republicans definitely like their candidate, but he's not going to win. And we see in the presidential race, it's also going to be a blue victory. It's 33 points from last time. Again, the polls are actually probably accurate when you say it's probably around 29 points again. No real reason for that to change from Biden to Harris. And then we have the state of Maine and New York remaining. So the state of Maine, we're going to say that is, what was it last time? It was 9 points. So we've had it under 10 in our models so far. And again, I think it's going to be under 10. I think it's probably running between 9 and 8. I'm probably going to say 8.4. So we say it's 8 points there for the Democrats. And the final state, New York, this is a very important one for the future. So it was 23 points last time. A lot of polls saying it's running at about 14. I'm going to doubt it's that close. I mean, the average is 14 at the moment on 538. That's quite something. Again, I think because it's such a deep blue state, you don't see the response turnout in these polls. So maybe it's underestimating the Democrats slightly. You've got this active vote poll that really boosts Harris's numbers. Maybe it could even be it could be within 14 points. It could be on 13 if it wasn't for that active vote poll. But we probably say it's again going to move right. Maybe we see New York City's turning slightly more red, so maybe that could make a difference, and then the urban areas start to turn out a little bit more for Trump. So we apply our 3 to 4 point sort of shift from 23, that turns it down to 20. Then you say the expansion in New York of the right wing and the improvement of the GOP down there, and now the Mayor Adams incident or whatever's going on down there with the arrests and the raiding and things like that. It could go to maybe 16 points, maybe a 7-point shift there for New York. Maybe 2032 New York could be one that we maybe start talking about as competitive, or at least maybe as like a Texas is now at 5 to 7 points. Maybe by 2036, maybe it could actually be in play, but that is quite a long way away. But overall, this is what I'm going with. Your top 3 Republican states are Wyoming, North Dakota, and West Virginia. That's 46, 36, and 36. Your top 3 Democrat states are, well, of course, DC, if you classify as a state, which obviously it isn't, 82 points. Vermont is the top state at 43. Then you've got Maryland at 29. You've got Massachusetts at 25. So, these are my final margins. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you disagree in the comments. Also, I'll just do a quick one on Maine. I think this first district is going to be like 30 points to Democrats. It will be like 25 to 30. Okay, 26. I promise specific numbers. I'll give you them. I think this, if it's going to be under 10 at large, I think this would now have to be likely, the second district. So I'll amend that on my next model that we do. So it's probably about 6 to 7 points, this second district at the moment. So 6 to 7, okay, 7, and 26 we'll go with in Maine. So anyway, if you enjoyed, again, I'm going to go all YouTuber on you. 99% of people who are watching are not subscribed. It's literally 1.4% are. Thank you to you people. But please like, please share, comment, subscribe. I want to know what you think about this. A very long video. So if you stayed the whole time, don't forget, like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you thought. And tune in for more. The British Perspective on American Politics. I'll see you next time.